Past tenses. What's the difference between I studied, I was studying, I had studied, and I had been studying? If you don't know the exact answer, this video is for you. Hello and welcome to English Speaking 360. Today I will give you sets of 4 sentences: simple past, past progressive, past perfect, and past perfect progressive, and I'm going to compare the meaning for you. I will also include the diagrams, so if you are a visual learner, this will be great for you. The sentences go from very easy and gradually become more difficult. So if you understand and you think you're good enough, then you can try to answer the questions in the final quiz. Here are the first 4 sentences to compare. Do you know the difference in meaning? Maybe not. So let's take a closer look. I studied is simple past. It means that the action is finished. So it happened in the past and it is now terminated. So there is no more studying happening in the present. I was studying is an ongoing action in the past. So if you look at the diagram, you can clearly see an action, a long action in the past, and I will explain the light blue arrow a little bit later. I had studied is present perfect. Had studied means that there is a past action before another past action. 2 past actions in a certain sequence. I had been studying is an ongoing action, and we usually know the duration. So you see it's an ongoing action for 5 years up until another action in the past. These sentences are a little bit tricky because they don't help you at all. They are too simple. So that's why I'm going to give you better sentences. The first one, I studied yesterday. Now you can clearly see that the action is a finished action because the studying happened yesterday. How about this one? I was studying at 8 p.m. last night. Now you can see the use of the little light blue arrow right here. It means that this one right here is 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. last night. So my studying started before, maybe around 7 p.m. and the studying kept going until probably around 9 p.m. But at exactly 8 p.m., I was in the middle of my study session. So I was studying with ing. I had studied when Tom arrived. Here you have 2 past actions that are both finished. So I had studied is the first one right here, and the studying started and finished in the past. And then later, Tom arrived. So the second action, the arrival of Tom, is also finished. So finished action, both in the past. I had been studying for 5 years when I graduated. So an ongoing action for 5 years, the duration is there, but the duration is optional, I will explain later, up until another past action. So the focus right here is the duration. I'd been studying non-stop for 5 years when finally I graduated. Now, these diagrams that we are studying today are for the main uses of all past verb tenses. If you want to learn all uses for past verb tenses, then you have to click here at the top on the right-hand side. I'm gonna add a video there, and in that video, I teach you all uses for all past verb tenses. But today, we are focusing on the main uses only. Here are 4 more sentences to compare. He cooked dinner, he was cooking dinner, he had cooked dinner, and he had been cooking dinner. Great. Now here are better sentences, more complete sentences to help you understand. He cooked dinner last night. Now it's very clear it's a finished action in the past. Number 2. He was cooking dinner when the guests arrived. So the cooking was ongoing when the guests arrived at his home. knock, knock, knock at the door, and he's like, oh no, they are already here, but I haven't finished cooking yet. He had cooked dinner before the guests arrived. Very nice. Clearly here you can see that the cooking took place and the cooking was finished. And then the second action is the guests arrived after the cooking was finished. He had been cooking for an hour when they canceled. Oh no, he had been cooking non-stop for an hour. Duration is important here. 1 hour of cooking, and then they called and they said, oh, we're sorry, but we can't go tonight. Here are 4 more sentences. Are you starting to see the difference at first glance? I hope so. I translated a document 2 days ago. I was translating a document when my computer crashed. I had translated several documents before they hired a professional translator. I had been translating a document for 3 hours when I realized it was the wrong one. Let's take a closer look. So the first one, 2 days ago, clearly in the past. The second one, I was translating when my computer crashed. So the crashing of the computer interrupted my action, but maybe I kept going after. We're not sure about that. But the focus is on the action taking place at the time of the computer crashing. I had translated several documents before they hired a professional translator. So I translated several documents, past action, and it's finished. So I had translated the documents, and then they hired a professional translator. That is the second past action. I had been translating a document for 3 hours. Duration is important here. I wasted 3 hours of my life translating this document, and then I realized it was the wrong document. You're getting good. Try to complete these sentences now. I drove to the store. Maybe you can find something to put in the blank there. This one is easy. I was driving to the store. What would you insert in the blank? I had driven to the store. Okay, a little bit more difficult. And the last one, I had been driving to the store. The 2 last ones are much more difficult. So let's take a closer look. I drove to the store this morning. Very nice. You probably had this already. I drove to the store yesterday. I drove to the store last week. Finished action in the past. I was driving to the store when it started to rain. So the driving was ongoing and then the rain started halfway through my driving. I had driven to the store before I realized I had forgotten my wallet. This one is hard. Okay, I had driven to the store, so the driving to the store was finished. And then I realized. So the first action right here is the driving. The second action is the realization. And we have a third action. I had forgotten my wallet. When did that take place? It took place before the driving. So actually the sequence of events is I forgot my wallet and that action was finished. I drove to the store, that action was finished. And then finally I realized I had forgotten my wallet, that action is also finished. I had been driving to the store when I got lost. Okay, now ongoing action. I had been driving to the store, but here there is no duration mentioned. Sometimes the duration is not mentioned, but it's still important. I had been driving to the store for some time, but for some time is not mentioned. When I got lost, the getting lost is the second action. But if there is no duration, you will notice that I was driving to the store when I got lost, or I had been driving to the store when I got lost are both very, very similar, and there is not much of a difference. It's quiz time. Now test yourself. Here we go. The action of running a marathon was completed at a specific time in the past. So I want you to pick the right sentence, the sentence that matches the explanation. The action of running a marathon was completed at a specific time in the past. Did you make your choice? And the right answer is, I ran a marathon last month. Specific time in the past, last month, and I ran a marathon. The action is completed, the action is finished. Here's question 2. The action of reading a book was ongoing in the past when the phone rang. So what is the best matching sentence? You ready? So reading a book was ongoing in the past, so not finished, and then the phone rang. First answer, I was reading a book when the phone rang. Very good. And the second one, I had been reading a book for some time when the phone rang. But here, the duration is not mentioned. So like I said, both are very, very similar. Question 3. The action of working was ongoing at a specific time in the past. So the action of working was not finished at a specific time in the past. You ready? And the answer is, I was working yesterday at 10 a.m. So at 10 a.m., 10 a.m. is the time. So 10 a.m. is the light blue arrow right here. And I was in the middle of my shift. I was working, ing. Here, I had been working at 10 a.m. doesn't make any sense. If you want this to make sense, you would have to say, I had been working hard for 2 hours when my boss arrived at 10 a.m. Then it would make more sense. Question 4. The action of taking a shower was ongoing for some time until another action in the past. Okay. Taking a shower was ongoing for some time, important, until another action in the past. You ready? And the answer is, I had been taking a shower for 10 minutes when the water turned cold. So here we have the duration for 10 minutes. So you cannot say I was taking a shower when the water turned cold, because here the duration is important, for some time. Last question. The action of investigating was completed before another action in the past. So this is something that maybe a detective would say, like Sherlock Holmes, for example. Okay? So the action of investigating was completed before another action in the past. So there are 2 completed actions in the past in some kind of sequence. Ready? And the answer is, I had investigated similar cases before I was assigned this one. So the first part was investigating similar cases, and then I was assigned this case. Let's review the diagrams for the main uses of all past verb tenses. So simple past, clearly in the past, I studied yesterday. Past progressive, I was studying at 8 p.m. last night at a specific time in the past. I had studied when Tom arrived. 2 different and separate actions in the past. Past perfect progressive, I had been studying for 5 years when I graduated. Good job, guys. If you want to learn more useful English, check out the videos on the right-hand side. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.